Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We are back for a special edition of Let's Rumble. As always, the Channel 4 fans, by fans is kicking it off. We have a very, very special guest, someone in my neck of the woods. For those who watch this channel, good old Canadian boy is going to be joining us today. We got lots to talk about. We're going to dive into what makes this man tick, where he got his love for wrestling, and so much more. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one, folks, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Let's go. Ding, ding, ding. We are rolling, folks, and we are back at it again. As always, I am KJ White, the Iron Man of YouTube, the man that just doesn't go home. He is always here. And of course, you see me all the time. We're here for a special guest, a man with quite the resume. I mean, fresh out of LaSalle, Quebec, three-time Canadian champion and longest reigning Canadian champ, IWS Pro, AEW. We've seen him as Spider-Man. We've seen him as Dynamite. He is the silver tongue sex symbol. He's the one, the only, Jeremy Prophet. How are you, sir?
Oh, man, I'm feeling fantastic. I'm always happy to get to share my story with a brand new audience. I want to give you guys tons of excitement. You know, we're talking like Logan Paul and Saudi Arabia levels of excitement, minus the knee injuries.
Minus the knee injuries is always important. So, once again, thank you for joining us. We're going to look to have a lot of fun with this. As I already touched on, I mean, you're from my neck of the woods up here in the north originally, and you've ventured down right now. You're currently in Atlanta, Georgia, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Training at the Nightmare Factory, which was an opportunity that was granted to me by winning Jacquesrougeau's Wrestling Academy. So, yeah, that allowed me to be able to be down here training at the best wrestling school in the world right now. And yeah, you know, but I haven't forgotten my roots, haven't forgotten the great country of Canada that allowed that to be possible. And now I'm out here trying to chase the American dream.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now let's get into it real quick of, you know, you're born in LaSalle, Quebec. Like many of us, you grow up, you start being a wrestling fan. At what point did being a fan become, this is something I want to do?
I mean, it was always the kind of thing that when I would watch wrestling, I'd say, you know, these guys are making their living doing this. Why can't I do it? And that's all wrestling really is. It's a job. It's a profession. It's a business. And so I didn't know how to go about doing it. But at the time when I was, I guess, in high school, I figured, okay, you know, I plan on going on to college and university. But, you know, isn't there a way to go to like wrestling university? Isn't there a way to, you know, be able to learn this craft? Much like how you would learn any other kind of a trade, like how to be a welder or how to be a lawyer or anything like that. So I started looking into it. The initial plan was actually to head out to the Hearts in Calgary because that was the only school I knew about.
Right.
But then eventually discovered that Jacques had a wrestling school, probably about, you know, an hour from where I was living. And it just so happened that one of my best friend's brothers was already training there. So it already gave me a bit of a foot in the door. I knew somebody. And that's where I said, yeah, you know, I'm going to give this a try. Not just give it a try, but like I'm going to see it through. I don't care how tough it is. This is what I want to do with my life. So I knew from a very early age.
No, that's amazing. So as a young fan, what were you watching? What was kind of getting your motor flowing?
Oh, I mean, I loved watching the WWF and WCW. The first match I ever saw was Bret the Hitman Hart against Blake Beverly. And I always say, had I seen a different match, maybe one that wasn't as good, maybe I wouldn't have liked wrestling as much, but I saw that and I was hooked on it. And then, you know, all through growing up, the Attitude Era, WCW, WWF, I mean, I watched both of them regularly. I watched Nitro, I watched Thunder, I watched Worldwide, I watched pretty much anything that was put out there. Shotgun, Metal, Sunday Night Heat. Wrestling was my favorite thing to watch on TV. Pretty much all I watched was wrestling or hockey.
That's amazing. So, I mean, obviously, those around you knew that you were a diehard fan. And what were the friends and family like as you started saying, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this?
Well, you know, it was interesting because wrestling, I feel, went through three very different cycles. during the time that I was young, because like wrestling was a thing where I was maybe one of the only wrestling fans when I first started watching it, to where it became so popular that people were watching wrestling just to not be left out of the loop. You know, like if you weren't up to date on what was going on a Raw, you know, on Tuesday morning, then you weren't one of the cool kids. You didn't know what everybody was talking about. So people were watching it, I think, just for the sake of watching it because it was popular. Then I saw wrestling, you know, towards the end of high school kind of fall out of popularity, where people weren't watching it as much. People were more watching, you know, American Idol or whatever the other next popular thing was. And so I've seen it go through different cycles. But in terms of friends, family, you know, everyone knew that wrestling was my passion, and they were all very supportive of it. I didn't have any negativity, and I'm thankful for that. That I had, you know, 2 supporting parents, and everyone in my circle knew that like I was the biggest wrestling fan they knew, and that if anyone had a chance of succeeding at this, it was going to be me, because this was something that I loved and still do.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Now, just curious for my own peace of mind. You know, in those days, were you more of a WCW fan or a WWF fan? Where did you have an allegiance?
I mean, looking back at it, I was more of a WCW fan. I don't know why, but like I compare it like this: with the WWF at the time, I loved the main events, but the undercard, mid card didn't really do much for me. WCW was the complete opposite. I really liked the majority of the show. I liked everything from the opening match. I liked everything except for the main events. So that was how I viewed the 2 companies. That like by the time I would get around to the main event watching WCW, it's like, well, I saw all the guys that I liked already. I saw all the guys in the mid card, the guys like Benoit, like Jericho, like the Luchadors. You know, main events, I liked Sting, I liked DDP. But you know, a lot of those guys, they weren't who I was tuning in to watch. I wasn't tuning in to watch Hogan. I wasn't tuning in to watch. I mean, Ric Flair, I liked. Don't get me wrong, I liked Ric Flair a lot. But by the time the main events would roll around, and a lot of times those main events would just be talk segments, I wasn't interested. On the other hand, with WWF, I loved the main events. I loved seeing, you know, The Rock and Chris Jericho and those guys in the main events. So it was different. But for the most part, the mid card, there were some cool storylines going on, but wasn't really the thing that I was tuning in most to see. I was tuning in actually to see the guys that were in the main event when it came to the WWF.
No, that's amazing. And I think a lot of us were very similar to that, where there was parts of both that, you know, if you're a really big wrestling fan, you could kind of get your fix by taking in both and getting little bits of everything that you liked. But with that being said, sir, you decide, all right, I'm a fan. This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do. You walk through the doors. I mean, obviously, Jacques-Rougeau, a legendary name, especially in Canadian wrestling. But, you know, those know him, you know, from his days in the U.S. as well. You walk through the doors. What was it like to enter that kind of facility, and there's everyone ready to go, and you're set to kind of join this world?
I knew it was where I belonged. I knew I was, you know, this was what I wanted to do. I just wanted to get in that ring and wanted to have a feel for the sport that I wanted to make my living and invest all of my time and effort into. For me, that's, I mean, I literally think about the first day I was there and Jacques was giving a speech, and I'm just thinking about, I just want to get in that ring, see how it feels, and be a part of this. You know, I couldn't even tell you what he was saying in that you know, first class welcome speech, because I just wanted to get in there and finally do what I've seen all my heroes do on TV. So that's what it was like. I was very ambitious. I was the kind of guy, and still am, where it's like, you know, I want to get in there, not scared to try new things, not scared of the pain, because, you know, this is what I want to be doing with my life. So yeah, that my first day was, I felt I was where I wanted to be for a very long time.
Absolutely amazing. So when did you get the opportunity to finally step between those ropes? And again, you were ambitious, you wanted it, but you get in there, you start doing it instant, and you're like, all right, this all makes sense. I can't wait to do more.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, we got to go in right away on the first day. I got to take my first bumps, learn a few rudiments of the business, you know, how to lock up, how to run the ropes. It wasn't very advanced, but it was still fundamentals that you need. And, you know, I loved it. I trained there, you know, we would train about twice a week, and it was very hands-on with Jacques. And I was fortunate to be able to make my debut. It was in December that I started training, and I made my debut in April. So however many months that is, it was pretty accelerated. It's pretty quick, especially by today's standards. So I was fortunate that I learned enough in that short amount of time to not go in and embarrass myself in my debut, and to have a pretty decent debut and then a pretty decent career to follow.
Yeah, no, I mean, reading over your resume, I mean, it is it's littered with gold and accomplishments. So it's a testament to you. You said it was a quick turnaround. What was it like that first time stepping in the ring for you? What was that
Again,
debut match?
it was everything that I ever wanted. I wanted to be able to go in there, perform, show my talent, give the people something to remember, give the people something that where they would go home, they would remember what I did on that show. So it was everything I could have asked for. I mean, it was a huge crowd at the time. I tell this story, and it's kind of funny looking back on it, but at the time, I didn't feel like it was a huge crowd. Now, I debuted in front of about 2,000 people.
Wow.
This was in Joliet, Quebec. And at the time, I'm like, okay, well, it's not a WWE size crowd. It's not the 10,000 person arena. But I guess this is what independent wrestling is. It's, you're performing in front of crowds of 1,000, 2,000. Later, I would find out that sometimes you're performing in front of crowds of, maybe 100 people, maybe 20 people. Independent wrestling has its ups and downs. But at the time, I was like, okay, I guess this is a small indie crowd. But yeah, no, I was blessed to be able to get to make my debut in front of such a huge crowd. And to get to work with, I mean, I wasn't thrust into the fire, I would say. It was a 3-on-3-on-3 was the debut match. So we were actually 9 in that match. And a lot of those guys are still working today. A lot of those guys are still really good friends of mine. Looking back at it, we're like, man, wow, we were really a great group of talent, like for the careers that we've all had now in that first match. And I think, it's the start of any great story. Great people surrounded by great people, bringing out the best in each other.
Yeah, exactly. Who are some of the folks that you kind of bonded with it? And like you said, there was 9 in that match that were all pretty impressive names, especially now with their resumes as well.
Yep.
That you've kind of come through this journey with.
Yeah, well, a lot of the guys that I started with, ones that have gone on to great careers. There's the man who brought me into wrestling, Paulie Platinum. He's the younger brother of one of my best friends from high school. He's had an outstanding career here in Canada. Thomas Dubois, who has in recent times become one of my in-ring rivals, one half of the tag team TDT, the Tabernacle team. He was also one of the guys started with there. Bucks Belmar, another guy, great talent, former IWS world champion. He was also part of that crew of guys. Genesis, Johnny North, a guy who's pretty much my best friend outside of the ring. He was also there, part of that debut match. So there were like a lot of great talents, guys who are still going strong today in the prime of their life, putting on great performances here in Canada. Guys who, realistically, maybe if they were born here in Atlanta, Georgia, would probably already be on television earning millions. So, it was good. It was cool to be surrounded by a good group of guys like that. We've all remained friends to this day. And it's pretty cool that we get to cross paths now on the independent scene and tell our stories on podcasts like this and tell our stories in the ring when we meet up with each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I mean, Canada has a great wrestling tradition across the board. You already mentioned Calgary as well. That sense of pride with Canadian wrestling must have been apparent from the beginning and something you carry on now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to educate all these people down here in the United States as to what we have to go through in Canada. Putting on matches that would otherwise get people tons of exposure, get them jobs, get them noticed by the higher ups. It's kind of like it's happening in a black hole. It's like trees falling in the forest, but if nobody's around to hear it, does it really make a sound? So I'm trying to make all the sound for all those people because we put in the work. We do the same things they tell us that you're supposed to do, the work in the ring, the work in the gym, having good attitudes, all those kinds of things. But the exposure, unfortunately, is not there. So there's a lot of difficulties that we have to overcome to be recognized for what we do. We have to be twice as good, if not, more than that, to be able to be recognized. And it's unfortunate because there are tons of wrestlers in Canada that would put a lot of the wrestlers on the American independent scene to shame. But we don't get those opportunities. And let's not even get into all the difficulties of having to cross the border and acquiring work visas and all that kind of stuff that also pretty much castrate us in our attempts to forge a career for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean that's an ongoing challenge. I mean, even myself with being a Canadian, wanting to be involved in a very American industry, you run into those hurdles at times. Now, I like I said, going through your resume of GNW Canadian champion, BEW National Heavyweight Champion, LLC V champion, IWS Tag Team Champion, lots to your resume, doing a lot at this end. Now you decide, I'm going to go to the States. Talk about that process for yourself. As you said, it's challenging. How did you make it from, LaSalle, Quebec, from that area, from Rougeau to the Nightmare Factory?
Yeah, well, I mean, I entered Wrestling Academy. We were 40 participants from all over Canada, from St. John's all the way out to Vancouver. And in the end, it came down to QT Marshall choosing the people that he felt deserved to win. And I was fortunate and blessed to be one of the 4 that he chose, and was offered this opportunity, this scholarship, to train here at the Nightmare Factory in McDonough, Georgia, the beautiful town of McDonough, Georgia, with some of the best, to train under QT Marshall himself, who's been an outstanding coach and has helped me quite a bit to understand this business better, understand the things that we need to do to get to where we want to be. Also, the outstanding, fantastic, can't say enough good about him, the American Nightmare himself, Cody Rhodes, been very hands-on with us, very insightful. It's truly an honor to get to learn from someone as accomplished as him. And also Billy Gunn, Daddy Ass himself, who's also there to lend a hand and teach us, a man with, in excess of 30 years of in-ring experience. So we're really learning from the best of the best, and they're there with us day in, day out, teaching us how this business works, filling in those holes in our game and making sure that once it's all said and done, we can earn some serious money in this business and get to be where we want to be.
No, absolutely. That's amazing. And I've talked to, I've talked to a few people that have been involved with the Nightmare Factory and done a couple interviews, and everybody speaks highly of it. The production value, kind of how they bring you in, you're kind of exposed to every little aspect of the business. That's got to be a huge change coming out of, some of the small towns and such, but getting in there and it's kind of lights, camera, action, it's got to feel good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing that we get to train practically every day in such a state-of-the-art facility. I mean, you really have to see it to believe it. I mean, they have a full gym, workout center in there, 2 rings, and just the knowledge that you can accumulate there from all the years of experience from people who've had fairly different paths in the wrestling business. With Cody, he's someone who is many generations in the wrestling business, worked for many different companies behind the scenes and in front of the camera. So just his knowledge alone is stuff that you're not going to find on the independents. Then you have someone like Coach QT Marshall, who is a veteran of the independents, who's actually been doing this, just a little bit longer than me. And, he's been through so many ups and downs and can really relate to what it's like being on the independents and the things that you need that are going to get you to that next level. And then obviously, like I said, Billy Gunn, just a legend, multi-time Hall of Famer, and someone who has seen it all, been through it all, and can make sure that you can have a career. Maybe not a career that's as illustrious as his, because let's face it, the man is a legend, but that, you can have an outstanding career and that your performance can be immaculate enough to get noticed pretty much anywhere. So it's really the perfect combination of veteran knowledge, up-to-date current knowledge, and it's being passed on to people of all skill levels. So, if anyone is looking to really advance their career, make it to that next level, definitely you'll be able to get that knowledge at the Nightmare Factory. It's I actually wish it were around a lot earlier, because it'd definitely be something, an opportunity I would have jumped at years ago in my career. But, better late than never. And I intend on making the most of it for the time that I'm down here.
That's absolutely incredible. And, you talk about the guys like Billy Gunn. I mean, Billy Gunn, after all this time, still over. I mean, he's over than some of the young guys, still doing his thing, which is incredible. Now, with that being said, who were some of your early influences? Some people you wanted to kind of model yourself after, some of the wrestlers that really inspired you when you get into the ring?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different influences. Bret was always the first one. I was always the big fan of Bret the Hitman Hart. Loved his in-ring work. I loved what he represented. he's a great Canadian. He was a huge influence on me. I'd say that obviously, and I get this a lot, but The Rock, it's got to be said, because I mean, The Rock, no matter what would happen in wrestling, Rock didn't even have to wrestle. Rock would just need to come out, cut a promo. Everyone would be talking about it the next day. And, The Rock, he's the most successful wrestler of all time. Granted, a lot of that success came from Hollywood, but Rock is the most successful of all time. And if I can keep it on a Canadian track, his dad is the greatest Black Canadian wrestler of all time. So I also like that too, Rocky Johnson. And obviously also Chris Jericho, who just, from his in-ring work to his longevity, to his mic work, all of these things, resonated with me. I love that Chris Jericho was a guy in WCW that you would just give him a minute of mic work each week, and he could say something that would be memorable, that people would be talking about. He knew how to get himself over. I think he was one of the best examples of taking the little bit that you're given and making the most out of it. So yeah, those would be probably my three biggest wrestling influences. And if you look at my body of work, you look at anything I do, you can see those influences in there, pretty magnanimously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I recently saw a promo that you cut where you're basically, giving shit to everyone else about their ability to cut a promo and get over on themselves. So you're definitely confident when you when someone hands you a microphone, which I mean, like you said, a lot of wrestlers use that as the conduit to get everything kind of, it's the cherry on top of their package as far as making sure that people remember them. And you leave no doubt confident, strong, and those promo skills are outstanding, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. Look, it just comes from longevity and consistency. I've been fortunate to have had a bit of a different career than most people who've been doing it as long as me. I've never been injured. I've never taken a day off. I've never wanted a break from wrestling. If I could wrestle 7 days a week, I would do it. And believe me, I'm pretty much doing that here down in Atlanta. It's been nonstop, go, go, go. And I've been having the time of my life because this is my dream. This is what I've always wanted to do. So when it comes to the promos, I mean, that's a big part of the game. Some people, they're all promo with nothing else. They're all sizzle, no steak. Me, I'm sizzle and steak. You get it both. Because why shouldn't you get both? Why shouldn't you get someone who's this great hybrid wrestler that can go with the best of them in the ring, who can go with the best of them on the mic, who is in the gym every day working on his body, 100% natural, no chemical shortcuts, still looking as good as any person on television from any era of professional wrestling. So yeah, I'm very confident in my abilities because I work on them. I work on them day in, day out. This isn't something where you just wing it. You don't just wing your way to looking like a Jeremy Prophet. You don't just wing your way to being as good as I am in the ring. You put in the work and you consistently work on it so that your weaknesses become your strengths and your strengths become your superpowers.
I love it. I love it, man. That's awesome. Now, that being said, you've been on a roll. And again, a lot of accolades. As you said, you had to win your way essentially to get into being selected by QT Marshall and such. So you cross the border, you start doing the independent circuit there. You're doing the training at Nightmare Factory. What are some things that stood out for you as you made that transition?
It's always the same thing, that scenes are not really that much different. You see the same kinds of things on this scene as you do back home. Wrestlers are wrestlers. And so when it comes down to it, me being here, my purpose here is I want to fight the best. I want to, maybe not the best example, but it's like when you walk in a prison, the best way to defend yourself is to find the toughest guy and, go after him. Show that, maybe he's not the toughest guy anymore. So I want to find the best and I want to push them to their limits. Tell me who the best is. Tell me who is better than me. Who am I expected to bow down to and pay tribute, because I'll show them where my skills rank in comparison. So I'm a competitor. Michael Jordan was a competitor. I'm the same way. Find me the best. Let them prove to me that they're the best, because I'm the best from where I'm from. I'm the best from my country. So I want to showcase my skills. I want to sink my teeth into the so-called best down here and give the people the best damn show they've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. With that being said, I mean, you do have yourself, or at least I've seen you listed as a high flyer, but I wouldn't say you're a pure high flyer in any stretch. I mean, there are high fly elements to your game, but I'd like to argue, and I think you used the word already, hybrid, right? There's a lot of technical savvy to what you bring to the table as well.
Yeah, I'm very versatile is the way I say it, is that there's a lot of incredible high flying things I do, but a lot of people rely on high flying as a crutch because they can't do all the other stuff. I like to fancy myself that, I play all the keys on the piano. Hell, I'm not a piano, I'm an organ. I play all the keys on the organ. When it comes to Jeremy Prophet, there's nothing that I can't do. And whatever the match calls for, you can be sure you're going to get it if I'm in it. It's one thing I tell people. There's some people, and I hate to expose a lot of my brothers in this business, but there are people that you watch 3 matches of them and you'll see the same moves in the same place, in the same order, the same story. I've had close to 1,000 matches, probably maybe even more. You watch any 2 Jeremy Prophet matches, they don't look the same. I don't like that. That's laziness. That's complacency. And I get it. It's easy to be complacent when you figure out a formula that makes sure that your bills are paid all the time. But I like challenging myself. Like I will not sleep well at night if I'm going out there putting out the same product, the same match in, match out. And you can go on YouTube and then, oh yeah, there's the same moves, same order, same everything. That's not me, man. You can call me the man of a million moves, and it's not even really the moves that matter. But it's just when it comes down to it, I don't like being complacent. I'm the antithesis of complacency.
Yeah.
So with me, I'm always innovating, always evolving, and always trying to become the best that I can be. I don't get complacent. And I think that's what's wrong with wrestling, is that when people suddenly start getting their bills paid and everything is fine, they're all getting jiggy with it, they lose that feeling of being that stereotypical starving wrestler sleeping in his car, having to fight for everything that they want in this business, and having to treat every match like it's their tryout match with the company they want to work for. When you see me on a card, no matter where it is, I'm giving 110% because I treat every match like it could be my last match, like it could be my tryout match with a company that I want to work for. That's my attitude that I bring to the table, and it rubs some people the wrong way, and that's okay. I don't care if I rub people the wrong way, because I'm passionate about what I want to do and I want to make my living doing this sport. If you're rubbed the wrong way by that, then maybe you're in the wrong sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, how can you argue with that type of drive? And you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet at the end of the day, Jeremy. So I appreciate that hustle. Now, fans have recently seen you, or at least some have seen you, make that transition to AEW Dark, and get into that avenue as well. What was that experience like? It almost feels like a next step in the progress.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome getting to be there, getting to be on Elevation, and I hope to go back. I mean, it's tricky because as a Canadian, we can only work in Canada. So, that's something that still hasn't been figured out. People are sending me messages saying, hey, are you going to be on next week? Are they going to bring you back? Are they going to? Well, legally, they can't. So unfortunately, I wish that I could say that there was a way to make that happen. But actually, when it comes down to it, we have to all play the waiting game and hope that they come back to Canada. And I think that I made a good enough impression behind the scenes and in front of the camera to warrant coming back. But again, that's all in the eyes of the beholder.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that is one of the constraints. I mean, we even saw someone like Josh Alexander have to come back home for a couple of weeks because of visa issues and work all that stuff out. So, I mean, that is, I think, something that people underestimate or people don't really take into account as a Canadian athlete trying to make it over, as an independent contractor in the States. It's not just show up and work.
No, absolutely not. And even in a situation like that, I mean, there are some people who have had 20, 30 appearances on AEW simply because of, doing all the right things. We don't have that luxury as Canadians. We're at the mercy of how often that company wants to come to Canada, and then we can perform for them. So we have to make the most of the little that we're given. It's not a level playing field, and it's unfortunate that it is that way, but trust me, like I said, I'm going to keep making noise about this. People can try to silence me all they want, but it's a real issue. And don't think that I'm here trying to, say that we're victims or playing victims or anything. Playing victim is the person who would say, oh, this is difficult. This is an uphill battle. We have to swim upstream. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to let myself get out of shape. I'm going to stop chasing this thing, and I'm going to quit. But no, I'm not a victim. I'm the person who's still going to do all the right things, who's never needed the bright lights and the big stage to wake up in the morning and drag myself to the gym, to get down to that wrestling ring, to continue to put on the best performances and continue to bring this issue to the forefront, defiantly spitting in the face of anyone who dares tell me that I'm going about this the wrong way. I believe in my cause, and I'm going to keep fighting for it, and I'm going to keep doing it in the ring as much as out of the ring to make sure that, I can get to be where I want to be and show other people that it is possible. You just got to work extremely hard. You just got to be extremely defiant. You got to be like a tank or like a steamroller, ready to destroy everything in your path to get to be where you want to be. Because, yeah, we don't have the same playing field, but it doesn't mean that we can't win.
Absolutely, man. That was, I mean, inspiring, folks. For anyone watching along right now, absolutely incredible, Jeremy. And now that being said, you had a crazy 22, packed with a lot of wins, packed with a lot of, again, accolades, a lot of gold, a lot of ups. Where do you see 2023 taking you, sir?
Onward and upward, like a fine wine. I keep getting better year after year. But it's really just, chasing those big opportunities. I want to fight the best. I want to fight the best the world has to offer. I'd love to fight the best from Europe, the best from Japan, the best from here in the United States. People like to say that, I'm arrogant when I say I've yet to meet my equal. Well, if someone says they're the best, hey, you got to prove it to me. Prove it to me. Prove to me that I'm not, because, maybe I'm not the best, but we'll never know that if the people who are the so-called best keep ducking me. So I've never ducked a match in my life. There are a lot of people I've not wanted to wrestle, but I do it. So, if people are out there making claims, whether in Canada or anywhere else in the world, well, okay, prove it to me. Prove it to me, because I know what I bring to the table. I'm very confident. A lot of independent wrestlers, a lot of wrestlers in general, are very insecure people. I don't have insecurities. I don't need to. I believe in myself. I believe in the talent that God gave me. I believe in the will, the heart, all of those things. Hey, I've done this 17 years. I've never once suffered an injury. There's a reason for that, because I know what I'm doing in there. So, if there's somebody out there who wants to test my mettle, they'll see that I can stand the heat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. And I mean, one of the highest levels of confidence that I've interviewed in my short career. So that's no, we greatly appreciate that insight to everything. Now, just before we kind of wrap this up, do you want to let the fans know where they can check you out, where they can find you, all that good stuff?
For sure. Well, if ever you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, you can check me out at you can find me on Twitter at Jeremy Prophet. That's JEREMYPROPHET on Twitter. You can find me. Check out my fan page on Instagram at The Real Jeremy Prophet. And you can also see me on JOFO in the Ring. Still a lot of great content coming out. Going to actually be putting some content together here, doing some interviews from down here in Georgia. So you can check me out on there on YouTube. You can use the hashtag on YouTube, hashtag Jeremy Prophet, and you can see a lot of great content, a lot of great matches, interviews, just about everything relating to Jeremy Prophet if you use that hashtag on YouTube. And yeah, you can keep following my journey, keep on supporting me. Let me know what you think of what I'm doing. I'm always easy to talk to, and I enjoy interacting with my fan base. So yeah, I look forward to you guys reaching out to me, checking out this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and let people know about the Let's Rumble podcast, because hell, this is a great show run by a great man, a fellow Canadian. And like I always say to my fellow brothers here in the podcast industry, it's great to see us all grow together, succeed together, helping out one another. And with that said, if ever you want me back on, I'll be more than happy to oblige.
Well, that was going to be part of my spiel to close this little shindig up, was that it was nothing but an absolute pleasure. One question I always ask aspiring wrestlers and established wrestlers all the same, and the fans always kind of want to know, what's your, I know what the answer is, but what's your big finisher? What do you like to end it off with? Like, I know you have a couple go-tos, but what's your finisher?
I mean, there's a lot of different ones, but my most successful has probably been the 450 splash. But I also like dumping guys on their heads. So I like my cross arm pile driver, the holy driver, as I call it, as a great finisher also. And yeah, I mean, with Jeremy Prophet, you never know what you're going to get. Like I said, I'm the man of a million moves. Sometimes it might just be a good old, punch right upside the face, and then it's all one and done.
Absolutely. And like I said, that pile driver, I've watched you lay a few people out with it. So you know how to definitely smash a few faces off the mat at the end of the day. But no, we greatly appreciate this, Jeremy. Again, an upstart little channel like ours, having someone like yourself stop by is excellent and greatly appreciated. We're looking forward to your journey continuing, and hopefully we're alongside, and we'll see you again. And we'll give all the fans an update as you continue this this amazing story that you had, and hopefully we get to catch you live some point, or at least I do, because I'm up in your neck of the woods. But yeah, no, I mean, lots of gold, lots of praise coming your way. And again, we're looking forward to seeing you kind of break through some barriers and get to that next stage.
Yeah, definitely. And I look forward to coming back on as my journey progresses. And just remember, I'm fighting for all of us, every one of us, every person who's not had an opportunity, no matter where you're from. If you've not had that opportunity, don't give up on your dreams. This is a fight that is a fight to the finish. So we're either going to make it or we're going to die trying. And believe me, I don't plan on dying anytime soon.
Yeah, perfect, sir. Well, folks, that is Mr. Jeremy Prophet. As I said, he's gone by a few names, but he's, a good old Canadian at heart, a man that's just chasing his dreams and doing it at an extremely high level and an extremely crazy clip. So once again, sir, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got more coming your way. Don't forget, we do this all the time. Nobody covers wrestling the way we do. We are on a different level. Our grind is on a different plane. People can't keep up, and that's like this man right here, Mr. Jeremy Prophet. They just can't keep up when you're grinding every day. They can't stop. Other people take a break. We're not going to do it. So last but not least, thank you, sir. And for everyone else out there, we will see you guys on the flip side. Bye for now.